Hey everyone! In this video, I'm going to teach you how to make your very own version of the popular App Store game, Crossy Road. In this game, a chicken is trying to cross a busy road without getting hit. I'm going to explain each step to make this game, and you can follow along with me. Now, if you're watching this video in the Hopscotch app, you're in a working project with a video player overlaid on top. Sometimes you'll want to pause the video to check your work, so we're going to practice pausing the video together now. When I say freeze, I want you to tap on the video screen to display the controls, and it will get kind of dark, and then tap again on the pause button in the middle of the screen. Okay, ready? Now freeze. Okay, nice. Did you get it to pause? Great, and if you didn't, please take the time right this moment to figure it out because pausing the video will be important to help you code the game correctly. The video player also has a little white back arrow at the bottom that you can use to rewind. You can try that out too if you like. You can also try dragging the video player around to move it to a different part of your screen and resizing it by pinching it. If you're using an iPad, I suggest making the video screen a little bigger and easier to see, but make sure you still have room to write your code. Okay, let's get started. First, I'm going to tap this gray plus button on the bottom of my screen to add the first object. Remember, you're in a working project here too, so you can code along with me. Look down towards the bottom of your screen in the middle there and tap on your plus button. You can scroll over to check out all the objects. I'm going to pick one here just to show you how it works. I'll choose this triangle here, and you can choose anything you want. See how it jumped up to the stage? I can move it around to place it anywhere. The two numbers that I see here at the top that keep changing when I move it are its X, Y coordinates. Now, the triangle object isn't really a part of my Crossy Road game, so I'm going to delete it. I'll drag it down to where this trash can appears at the bottom and drop it in. I'll say yes, delete to this pop-up and goodbye triangle. Okay, so since I'm trying to make the Crossy Road game, what I really need is a chicken object. So for that, I'm going to use a chicken emoji. I'll go back to this plus button to get a new object, and for emojis, I'll scroll back to the beginning and tap text, which is this first blue square. This lets me use text or emojis as objects. Now I'll tap down here to open the emoji keyboard and get the chicken emoji, which you have to scroll over to the right to get under animals and nature. You can scroll there or just get there by tapping on the little gray bear face at the bottom, which will jump you over to the right place. And then scroll over to find the chicken. It's right here, past the sea creatures, but before the trees. And then I'll tap this blue check button. And see, the emoji becomes an object on the stage that I can program. Great. Let me drag her down towards the bottom center of the screen now. Okay, great. If you had any difficulty following along, pause the video right now and make sure you've added the chicken emoji to your screen. Okay, so now that I have my first object on the stage, I need to program it. I'm going to tap this button to the side here that says Add Code. And boop, I see this blue thing open up. This blue thing is the chicken emoji object's code editor. We'll program our chicken in here. So to program an object in Hopscotch, you need to write a rule for it. A rule tells an object when to do something and what it's supposed to do. All of these magenta blocks tell the object when it's supposed to do something. And by the way, with your when's menu probably won't have these white blocks, so just ignore them for now. So you always need at least one of these magenta when blocks to make a rule, so your object will know when it's supposed to do its program. So we need to pick out the right when to trigger our action for the chicken. For this game, I want to make my chicken move up every time I tap the screen. So I'm going to pick this block, when is tapped. Great. It goes into the editor and it has a container shape so you can put what the chicken is supposed to do inside. Notice the menu at the bottom switched from the magenta when blocks to a different menu of rainbow blocks. These are all the what to do blocks. We call them method blocks. All of these method blocks tell our little chicken emoji what it should do when iPhone is tapped. You can tell which menu you're in because the when blocks are only magenta and the method blocks are all different colors and they have rainbow blocks at the beginning. So back to programming our chicken. Since I want her to move up when the iPhone is tapped, I'm going to program that. I'll scroll over to these red movement blocks. And if you ever want to know what any of these blocks do, just hold them down for a long press, like this, and you'll see an explanation. Okay, I'm going to use change Y by. Change Y by moves an object on the vertical axis or up and down on the screen. First, I'm going to do a big number just to try it out. The little white bubble with the amount is automatically filled with the number 100, but no worries, I don't need to delete it. I can just type right on top of it. And if I did want to delete something, the delete button is this little gray X arrow at the bottom all the way over to the right. Okay, I'll type 300. And then I'll press this check button. If you're coding this on an iPad, your check button will be a little turquoise square way over in the corner on top of your methods menu. It might even be covered up by your video player. Okay, I just wrote my first rule. See? When iPhone is tapped, change Y by 300. If you notice this little white arrow at the top of the magenta container block next to the word when, you can tap it to snap the rule shut, but my red code block is still inside. See? You can tap on the arrow to open it again, and here it is. Okay, so now the moment of truth. I'm going to check it to make sure it works. When iPhone is tapped, change Y by 300. I'll tap this triangle play button in the top right corner, and woohoo! Traveling. The chicken moves way up every time I tap the screen. Awesome! If I want to replay, I just tap the circular arrow on the top right corner of my screen. Okay, so I think it's moving a little too much. I want to fix it. I'm going to tap this little pencil in the upper right-hand corner to get back to my code editor again. By the way, if you're coding along and yours didn't look like mine, pause the video here to make sure you get it right. Okay, now, I want the chicken to go just a little way each time I tap the screen rather than going so far. So I'm going to delete this block by dragging it by these 3 little grippy lines on the right side here and drag it down to the bottom. If you're following along and having difficulty dragging the block, make sure you're grabbing it on the very edge here with these little lines. Okay, now I'll throw it into the trash. Poof. Okay, now I'll tap back inside my container block to pull up the Rainbow Methods menu again. Make sure you tap inside the container and you have your Methods menu. If you have the magenta Whens menu, it means you tapped outside of the container. So I want to build a better version of the chicken moving rule. I'll go to my red movement blocks and pick change Y by again. But this time, in the white bubble, I'm only going to put in 25. And check. Okay, so let's take a look at this new rule. When iPhone is tapped, change Y by 25. Make sure your rule looks like mine and pause to fix it if it doesn't. Okay, now let's try it out. I'll press play in the upper right here. Sweet, it's working, and the chicken isn't going too far each time. I coded the first part of my game. Okay, now let's go back to the editor and add an obstacle. I'll tap my pencil to go back. Okay, so this is the editor for my chicken, but I want to put in a car. I'm going to tap the X in the top left corner to close out of the chicken's code. Now I'm back at the stage. I'm going to add another object, a car emoji. So I'll tap the gray plus button down here, tap text, go to my emoji keyboard again, and scroll over to find a car emoji. You can jump to it by tapping the little gray building and car in the menu at the bottom. I like this little red car, but you can pick whichever one you want. I'll press check, And here's my car. I'll move it up here to the right to be an obstacle for my chicken. And if you need to pause here to get yours to look like mine, go ahead and I'll wait. Okay, before I program the car, let's look here to see how the game works. The car goes from the right side of the screen across to the left side, and then it hits the edge, then flips, and then goes back in the other direction. And it keeps doing that constantly from the moment the game starts. So in order to program it, I'll need to give the car a rule that sounds something like, when the game starts, go across the screen, flip, go back, flip, go across again, and keep doing that again and again forever. So let me tap Add Code to get into the car's code editor here. And here is my magenta When's menu. The first part of the rule should say, when the game starts. So I'll pick Game Starts. And the container block opens and I have my choice of what to do in the Rainbow Methods menu down here. I want the car to go across the screen, so I'll scroll over to the red movement blocks and pick Move Forward. In the little white bubble, I'll type 900 and check. Okay, now let me try it out by pressing play. Nothing happened. Let me reload. Look at that, it looks like my car is moving backwards to the right. Well, let me tell you why. That red move forward block I just used assumed every object is facing to the right, even when a lot of emojis, including this car, are images drawn to look like they're facing to the left. So what I need to do is go back and change move forward to a negative number, which will make the car move to the left. So I'll tap my pencil in the top right, and here in the move forward block, I'll delete and change this number in the white bubble to negative 900. Check. Okay, now I'll try it again by pressing play in the upper right. It works. Great. Now, when it gets to the end, I need it to flip around and go back to the other side over and over again. So I'm going to add that into the car's code. I'll tap the pencil to go back to my editor. And I want to add another method into this rule. So I'll tap inside my magenta When Game Starts container under the red Move Forward block. A blinking turquoise cursor appears inside the container and my Rainbow Methods menu pops up. I'll scroll over to the red Movements menu and pick Flip. Okay, now my rule reads, when game starts, move forward -900, flip. I want the car to keep doing this over and over again, so I'm going to add another block that makes it repeat these two methods forever. I'll scroll over to my blue control blocks and pick the Repeat Forever block. As you see, this is another container block. I will now carefully drag Move Forward and Flip into the blue Repeat container. So the rule I wrote for my car now reads, when game starts, repeat forever, move forward -900, flip, end. Pause here to make sure your code matches mine and take the time to fix it if it doesn't. Okay, I'm going to try it out by tapping play. And there we go. The car is going back and forth across the screen. And when I tap, the chicken moves up. Okay, now there's only one problem. Nothing bad happens to the chicken when it gets hit by the car. What should happen is that the chicken should disappear, so it's kind of like game over. So I'm going to program that now. I'll go back to my code by tapping the pencil. Now because I want the chicken to disappear, I have to write code for the chicken. So I'll X out of the car's code, and back here on the stage, I'll double tap on the chicken to get into its code. Okay, I can see the existing rule, when iPhone is tapped, change Y by 25. I'm going to close up this rule so I don't get confused by it, and then I'll create a new rule. I'll tap in the white space underneath to pull up the magenta When's menu. I want to program my chicken so that when the car bumps the chicken disappears. I'll go over to the collision section and pick bumps. Cool. So you can see right now that the when container reads when anything bumps anything. I want it to say when the car bumps the chicken. So I'll tap in the first white anything bubble and change it to my red car emoji that says text 2. Then in the second bubble, I'll change this anything to self. And self just means this chicken object that I'm programming now is talking about itself. Okay, and I'll press check. Okay, my Rainbow Methods menu now comes up, and I'll scroll over to the green looks blocks and pick Set Invisibility and type in 100, check. Which means the chicken will turn 100% invisible, which will make it look like it disappears. Okay, so let me read this rule over. When the car emoji text 2 bumps self, set invisibility percent 100. Okay, make sure your code looks like mine, and if it doesn't, pause the video here to fix it. Okay, I'm ready to try it out. I'll press play, and here we go. It works! Awesome. Why did the chicken cross the road? I don't know, but now I can let her tempt fate by playing this game. If you followed along, you also have a working game. Great job! You can stop here if you want to just play with and publish this game and share it with your friends. You can also look in the community to play games that other hopscotchers have made. Or, if you want to add more to this game, like more cars or a background to make it look good, or automatically resetting the chicken when it gets hit, just keep listening along for some bonus coding. Okay, so you decided to add some more to this game. Awesome! Coders are always working on polishing their products. To add to my game, I think I want to put in some more stuff to make it look better and be more challenging. I'll add some trees as a background and add a couple more cars as obstacles. So let me get back to the editor by tapping the pencil. I'm going to close out of the chicken's code, and then back on the stage, I'm going to add another object, some tree emojis. I'll tap the plus button to get another object, then text, get the emoji keyboard, and scroll over to animals and nature, which is the gray bear. And because I'm from Hawaii, I'm going to pick this palm tree. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, since I'm on the iPhone. Check. Nice. I'll move them up here to the top, and I'm not going to add any code to them because they're just scenery. They're not going to do anything. Maybe if I wanted to later, they could be like the finish line, and when the chicken bumps them, a new text object that says, "You win," could appear. But in this video, we're not going to do anything with them. They're just a decoration. The next thing I want to do is add another car or two. So I'll go to the plus button to get another object. Text, emoji menu, and jump to the building and car. Okay, I like this taxi. Check. I'll move it up here to the right side and add code. Okay, I'm in my magenta when's menu, so I'll scroll over and grab when game starts. And now I can access the method, so now I'll scroll over and grab my blue repeat forever block. Okay, now I want to move and flip, so I'll scroll back to the left and get my red move forward block. Put in -900, check, and my red flip block. I also want to do something a little fancy here. I'm going to add this red block called set speed. This is going to let me pick how fast the taxi moves forward. And instead of setting speed to just one number, I'm going to let the computer pick a random number each time it goes across the screen. So in this white parameter bubble, instead of typing a number, I'll scroll over to the right and pick this purple random block. Now I have 2 more bubbles to fill. These are the range, or the biggest and smallest numbers that the computer is going to choose between. I'll scroll left, back to my numbers, and pick 200 to 600 for my range of speeds. Check. Okay. Let's take a look at the rule I just wrote. When game starts, repeat forever, move forward -900, flip, Set speed to random 200 to 600. Take a moment here to check to make sure your code looks like mine, and pause and fix it if not. Okay, ready to try it out? I'll tap play, and yep, here's the taxi going back and forth at different speeds. Whoops, I still need to program it to kill the chicken when it hits it. So who's going to disappear? The chicken. So I need to go back and program the chicken. So pencil to edit, X out of my taxi code, open up the chicken, and I'm going to close this rule from earlier so I don't get confused. Okay, and I need to make a new rule for the chicken that says disappear when the taxi bumps me. So now I'll tap in the white space underneath to get my magenta whens menu again, go to collisions and get bumps, and change the first anything to this taxi emoji, text 4, and the second anything to self. Check. When taxi emoji bumps self. Okay, and now what should happen? It should disappear. I'll scroll over in my methods, get the green set invisibility block, 100, check. Okay, pause here to make sure yours matches mine completely. Okay, let's try it by tapping play. Nice, the taxi is working. Okay, just for kicks, I'm going to add one more obstacle. You can follow along or skip ahead if you think you have enough vehicles. Pencil to edit, close out of the chicken, get a new text object, text, emoji keyboard, cars and buildings, and I'm going to get this little green and beige train car. 1, 2, 3. Check. I'll put it on the other side, here on the left, since you can't really tell which way it's facing, and add code. When game starts, blue repeat forever, red move forward, 900, check. And the reason I'm not doing negative 900 is because the train is on the left side and I want it to move to the right first. Next, I need to flip it. So red flip block, and I'm going to set speed to 200. Check. Okay, I'm going to play it to check it out. Nice. We don't actually have trains in Hawaii, but that's okay. I like this. Pencil to edit, close out of the train, go into the chicken, close up this existing taxi rule, tap down in the white space to start a new rule, scroll over to bumps, change anything to the train text 5, you'll have to scroll over to find it, and the other anything to self. Check. Green, set invisibility. 100. Check. Pause here if you need to catch up. Okay, I'm going to play. Woohoo! All the obstacles are working. If you want, you can stop here and hit this blue publish button in the top left, which will publish your game into our community and also generate a link to the game that you can send to your teachers or family. Or you can add more scenery, vehicles, or play around with the speeds and spacing of these. Or you can keep coding along as I add even more stuff to my game. Okay. The next thing I want to do is to make my game a little nicer looking. So I'm going to draw a basic background. I'll go back to my code with the pencil and X out of my chicken. Hopscotch has a method that lets any object leave a trail by pretending it is dragging a pen behind it. So essentially, I can use any object as a pen. So I'll hit plus to get a new object. It doesn't matter which object. I'm going to use this heart. Now, what I want to do is draw a very thick green line across the screen that will look like grass. So I need to make a rule that's like, when the game starts, draw a thick line. I'll move the heart over to the left edge of the screen and add code. I'll choose when game starts and then scroll over to the purple drawing menu and get draw a trail. Okay, now I can pick the color. I'll pick this nice grassy green. And for width, I want the line to be pretty wide. I'll choose 100. And then for move forward, I want it to move all the way across the screen. I'm doing this on my iPhone, so I'll choose 400. If you're coding this on a different device, like an iPad, you'll need to use a larger number, like 1200. Okay, check. Okay, my rule now reads, when game starts, draw a trail color green, width 100, move forward 400. Okay, pause and check to make sure yours looks like mine. Hooray! I got a green line. Only thing is, this big black heart is still here and it doesn't look very good. I want to make it invisible at the very beginning. I'll go back to edit and I'll close up my draw a trail container block so I don't put something in there by accident. And then I'll tap in here to pull up my methods menu again so I can get another block, the green set invisibility block. And I'm putting it at the top of my rule because I want it to be the first thing that happens when the game starts. Okay, 100. Check. Okay, let me try it again. Play. Great, a nice green strip of lawn. I'm going to adjust it so the car isn't driving on it. Go back to edit, close out of the code, and I'll drag the heart a little lower down here. Okay, I'll press play to try it out. And there we go, a nice green strip. You can stop here and play around with backgrounds, add an additional black strip to be a road, or any other colors to set the scene. Or you could keep coding along with me to add a final touch to the game. Okay, you decided to stick around, huh? Congrats, you've built a great game. Now, I want to do just one last thing. I want to have my chicken go back to its starting position whenever it gets hit by a car, so the player doesn't have to keep pressing the reload button. So I'll go edit and back to my stage. Okay, first thing I need to do is to figure out what my chicken's starting position even is. Remember how each object displayed its XY coordinates when you're moving it? Let me drag the chicken around a little bit to see its XY coordinates. Okay, it looks like it is at about, call it 200 and about 150. Now, very important. If you're coding along on a different device, like an iPad, your coordinates are going to be different. Look at what your own coordinates are. Remember what they are. You might even want to write them down. Again, mine are 200 and 150. And let me think about what I want to have happen. When the chicken gets bumped by a car, after it disappears, I want it to go back to its position, which is 200 and 150, and then reappear again. So I'm going to open up my code. And I'll close up this train text 5 rule so I don't get confused. Okay. So look, I already have 4 rules, including the 3 different vehicle when bumps rules. But I want to add to them so that after the cars bump the chicken and after the chicken turns invisible, it goes back to its starting position and then reappears. So I'm going to do that for each of these rules. First, I'll do the red car. I'm going to open it up. Now, When the red car, text 2 bumps self, set invisibility to 100. And then I'm going to add another method block by tapping below, and the cursor will make space. I'll scroll over and pick a red set position block. And remember my coordinates from before are 200 and 150. Check. Remember, those were my coordinates on my iPhone. You're going to need to type whatever your coordinates were for the chicken starting position. You might even need to go back to remind yourself. Okay, and the last thing I need to do is to make the chicken visible again after it's moved back to its starting position. So I'll get a green set invisibility block and 0. Check. Nice. When red car text 2 bumps self, set invisibility percent 100, set position to X 200, Y 150, set invisibility percent 0. The order of the green and red method blocks is important. Pause to make sure your code matches mine exactly. Okay, are you ready to try it out? I'll press play. And since we just programmed the red car, when the chicken hits the red car, it should become invisible, go back to its starting position, and become visible. All right, it works. Okay, now let's go back and add this same code to the other 2 cars so it works for all of them. Pencil to edit. I'm back in the chicken's code. I'll close up the rule for the red car so I don't get confused. And now I'll pop open the taxi's code and tap in here. Under set invisibility percent 100, I'll put red set position 200, 150, check. And again, remember to use your own chicken starting position numbers, which may be different from mine depending on the device you're coding this on. And then green set invisibility, 0, check. Okay, I'll close up the taxis rule and do the same thing now for the train. Open it up, set position, 200, 150, check. Set invisibility, 0, check. Okay, before I try it, pause and make sure your code matches mine. Okay, ready? I'll press play. It works! Once the chicken is hit, I don't have to keep pressing reload to restart. Congrats! That wasn't easy. You must be proud of yourself. Well, we've come to the end of this video tutorial, but that doesn't mean you have to stop coding your game. You can use the things you've learned today to add more to this game, or start building a different game from your imagination. And when you're done, you can show off your creation to your family and friends. Just hit the blue Publish button in the top left. Once it's published to the Hopscotch community, you'll see a small gray share button next to the heart that will let you email a link to your friends and family, or even post it to Facebook. Enjoy, and happy coding!